After helping dozens of clients lose weight, I've developed a basic system that I've been called crazy for when I first start working with clients. But those same clients have cried with tears of joy when they've lost weight significantly in a way they never even thought possible. And in this video, I'm gonna give you the exact step-by-step blueprint completely for free. Or maybe if you enjoy the content, you could help me out and drop a sub down below. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Noah and I've been a full-time personal trainer for the last 5 years after graduating from my bachelor's of kinesiology. And I'm just trying to cut through all the bullshit that's out there in the fitness industry and give it to you straight so you can lose weight in the easiest way possible. Now we're gonna start by doing something that nobody does in the fitness industry: managing your expectations. Because you're not gonna get a one-size-fits-all workout program, because the reality is those just don't exist, no matter what fitness influencers try to tell you. But what you are gonna get is a step-by-step blueprint to the habit changes that I've made with my clients that have resulted in some of them not just losing over 50 pounds, but also keeping that weight off long term. Because for most people, losing the weight isn't the hard part, although that isn't easy either, don't get me wrong. But actually keeping that weight off long term is what they really struggle with. So I've been called crazy by new clients for my basic minimalistic approach to losing weight. Because the current reality of fitness media is they're gonna have you believe that you need to be doing endless exercise and fucking starving yourself just to lose a tiny little bit of weight. And in my last video, I debunked why that is total bullshit. So if you haven't seen that one, I'll link it in the description below so you can watch it after this one. But to lose weight and keep it off, we need to make realistic lifestyle changes. Because to keep that weight off long term, the harsh truth is your current lifestyle just isn't cutting it. And what most people do is they try to overhaul their entire life at once, making these aggressive changes to lose a bit of weight in the short term. Doing things like aggressive cardio, cutting out carbs, or literally in some cases barely fucking eating. And they make their lives so fucking miserable. But then when they inevitably stop, because who the fuck wants to feel miserable most of the time, they end up right back where they started. And the reason this doesn't work is because you haven't built the right habits yet. Because to actually keep that weight off long term, we need to start by creating new, healthier habits that you just don't have yet. And these habits that I'm gonna tell you might sound laughably easy, and that's totally okay. They're supposed to be realistic changes that you can make to your current lifestyle and stick with for the long haul. And when we change our mindset from these short-term quick fixes to being in it for the long haul, you'll actually start to see the real changes that you've wanted all along. That said, the first habit that I start with my clients is weight training. Because building muscle not only has an incredible effect on our mood and how we see ourselves, but it's also great for improving our metabolism, which means you can actually eat more to maintain your current weight. And it also is great for our joint health, which means you're not gonna be in constant joint pain, because really, who wants to live their lives in constant pain? It just isn't fun. And we're only gonna start with 1, maybe 2 days max, depending on where the client's currently at. And here's the thing, this isn't gonna get you that fast weight loss that you've been looking for before. But that's okay, because we're shifting our mindset to long-term success over quick fixes. And the goal with these weight training workouts is just to get you thinking more healthily. If healthily is a word. Then after a few weeks of being consistent with that, we're gonna start to address our step count on our non-lifting days. Because the reality is, most people in today's modern world just don't get enough movement in a day. And getting enough steps in will have a much greater impact on your weight loss than you realize. And if you don't believe me, I told you why in my last video, so make sure to watch that one after this video. Now, the exact number of steps that we're gonna aim for will vary depending on where the client's at. But the general rule that I like to follow is adding an additional 500 to 1,000 steps from where the client's currently at right now. Then depending on how successful they are with that, we'll taper them up accordingly on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Maybe we're only gonna taper them up 500 steps a week or two, or maybe we go for 1,000 steps. This all depends on how successful they are from the start, but also where we see them going, because we don't want them to fail and end up right back where they were. And to do this, we're gonna start to make lifestyle changes. Maybe they have a dog they never walk. Maybe they just want to go for a walk in the morning. Or maybe they just got to park in the furthest spot when they're going grocery shopping or running their errands. But we're going to work within their lifestyle to find what's going to work for them long term. Because if it doesn't fit into their life, they're never going to stick with it for more than a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months at the absolute most. Because again, that one size fits all approach is just total bullshit. And as we start building our step count up, simultaneously, we're going to make one seemingly small diet change, but it actually has a much bigger effect than you're going to realize. And that's adding protein into every meal. And the reason I say this is seemingly small, but is actually pretty big, is because one, we need protein to build muscle. Without protein, you're never going to build muscle. And two, protein is the most filling macronutrient, meaning it's going to fill you up with less food volume, which means it's going to be much easier to stay in your calorie deficit without feeling like you're starving yourself. And up to this point, I'm usually a few months into working with a client, and we might not see any weight loss up to this point. And that's totally okay because we're focusing on long-term success. But the key is we're also not seeing the scale go up either, because our weight loss is going to look like this, where we're not seeing much, if any, weight loss at first. But then after time passes, maybe even up to a year of these habits starting to accumulate, we're going to see a very radical drop off in our weight, followed by a sustained plateau at our goal weight. And then when it comes to our diet, the next habit that we're going to implement is limiting our portion sizes. Now, I know that most people don't want to track their food for the rest of their life, and I totally understand that. However, assuming there's no history of an eating disorder in your past, I still recommend tracking your food for a week or two. And the reason for that is it's going to teach you what a portion size is, but it's also going to teach you what a high calorie density food is. Usually these are potato chips because there's a lot of calories in a small portion size versus foods that have a low calorie density. Usually these are fruits and vegetables, meaning you can have a lot of food and it's going to be pretty low in calories. Because the reality is we're all going to underestimate how much food we're actually eating, myself included. And once we've gone through that phase, most people start to naturally gravitate to those fruits and vegetables as a side for their protein source, because this is going to make maintaining that calorie deficit drastically easier. And I just realized I'm kind of using the term calorie deficit pretty loosely, which is just a fancy way of saying it's eating less calories than you burn in a day. And that's the only way to lose weight. And if you want a full video on me breaking that down, let me know in the comments below. Then once my client gets this down a little bit, and it's mostly habit, we're really gonna focus on limiting our snacking. And to do that, there's a couple of changes we can make. But the best change is gonna be just not buying that snack you tend to binge altogether. Because if it's not around, you just simply won't eat it. But if that's too drastic of a first step, we can focus on just putting those snacks in a hard to reach place in your house, because that way it's going to stop you from just mindlessly binging that snack when you're bored. But more importantly, we're going to need to swap your snack for something that's lower calorie density, like a fruit or a vegetable, because quitting cold turkey rarely works. So what I found works with my clients is we're going to put a fruit bowl on their counter, because you're much more likely to pick up a food that's right in front of you than go find the snack that you hid somewhere in your house. Then the last tip that I give my clients is pick activities that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to be able to stick with it long term. So maybe it's joining a local dog walking group. Maybe it's joining a local rec league. But you need to find what works for you, because it's going to make sticking with exercise long term so much easier. Now that was a lot of information I just threw at you, so let's just summarize them one last time. You're going to strength train 2 times per week. You're going to get more steps in. You're going to add protein into each meal. You're going to limit your portion sizes. You're going to limit your snacking. And you're going to pick activities that you enjoy. And if this was the most valuable weight loss video you've ever seen, make sure to drop a sub to the channel for more videos coming like this. And if you're still here, you'll definitely find value from my last video. So I'll drop that here. Until next time, peace.